Tund, the handsome guy who every girl throw herself at, he believes he can get any girl of his choice until he got what? Turns into regret. The morning sun hung lazily over Suralire, spilling gold light across the streets. Vendors shouted prices, Danfo buses honked impatiently, students in neat uniforms hurried through the noise. Among them was Tund Babalola, the boy everyone in Marigold High School knew, the one mothers warned their daughters about. Tund had a smile that could melt even a teacher's anger. He was tall, dark, and neat in his sky-blue uniform, his hair always perfectly brushed. But what truly set him apart was his charm, a dangerous kind of confidence that made people forgive his arrogance. Whenever he walked into the school compound, girls whispered, boys stared, and teachers sighed. "Fine boy Tund Don come again," the canteen woman Mama Beezy would say. "Nah, this kind boy go break person Pekin heart finish," her assistant would reply. And she wasn't wrong. Tund was a player, a proud one. He never hid it. He flirted with the prettiest girls, made promises he never kept, and loved the thrill of being wanted. At lunch he sat with his two best friends, Bayo and Segan, under the big mango tree near the football field. "Guy," Bayo said sipping his coke, "how many babes you day follow this week?" "Only two," Tund replied casually, wiping his mouth. "Only two." Segan laughed. "You day talk him like say na homework." "My guy," Tund said with a grin, "I'm just living life. I no get time for heartbreak a beg." "One day you go fall," Bayo warned, shaking his head. "And when you fall go pain you well." "Me?" Tund laughed loud. "Impossible. Love no fit catch me. I day catch him first." He leaned back and watched as two junior girls passed by, giggling shyly when he winked at them. For Tund, life was simple: looks, confidence, and control. He loved being the center of attention, loved how people talked about him. He believed he had the world figured out. What he didn't know was that the world had its own plans, and soon his pride would be tested in a way he could never imagine. At home. That evening Tund walked into their small two-bedroom apartment. His mother, Mrs. Babalola, was at the dining table, sorting through fabric samples from her shop at Tejuosho Market. "Tund, welcome," she said without looking up. "How was school?" "Fine, mummy," he replied, dropping his bag on the sofa. "Did you go for your lesson today?" "Later, I'll read at night." She looked up then, her face weary but loving. "Tund, I didn't raise you to take life like a joke. Focus, my son. Women, parties, and pride won't build your future." "Mummy, I beg relax," Tund said, smiling. "I know what I'm doing. I'll make you proud one day." She sighed. "I pray so. Just don't learn your lesson the hard way." Her words lingered long after she went to bed. But Tund didn't think much of them. To him, life was still a game and he was still winning. The party that started everything. The following weekend, a senior student, Kenny, threw a birthday party in his father's compound at Yaba. Music blasted from giant speakers, the air thick with perfume, laughter, and fried meat. Tund arrived late, dressed in jeans, a white shirt, and sneakers that shone under the floodlights. When he walked in, heads turned immediately. "Fine boy Tund Don show," someone shouted. "Ah, this guy no day ever carry last." He grinned, high-fived a few friends and joined the dance floor. Girls swarmed him, each trying to catch his attention. It was his world, his playground. Then he saw her. A girl sitting quietly near the drinks table, scrolling on her phone. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. No makeup, no flashy clothes, just simple beauty and calm confidence. Her name was Amara. He'd never seen her before. "Who be that girl?" Tund asked Segan. "New student," Segan replied. "Transferred from Enugu last term. Bookworm type. Forget am, she no go send you." "We go see," Tund said, smiling. He walked over, confident as ever. "Hey beautiful," he said, leaning against the table. "Why you day hide for here when the whole place day vibe?" She looked up briefly, unimpressed. "Not everyone likes noise. You should try dancing. I could show you some moves." "No thanks," she said, returning to her phone. "I don't dance with strangers." Tund blinked. He wasn't used. "We should change from anyone," he said, smiling wider. "I'm Tund." "Good for you," she replied calmly, not looking up. His friends watched from a distance, laughing at his embarrassment. "Guy, she don't finish you," Segan shouted. But Tund just smiled, watching her as she left the party quietly an hour later. Something about her stuck in his mind, her voice, her calm, her refusal to be impressed. He didn't know it yet, but that simple moment was the beginning of his greatest test. The term moved fast and so did Tund's reputation. By now, half the girls in Marigold High had one story or another about him. Some adored him, others cursed him. But one thing was sure, everyone knew Tund Babalola. He was still top of his game, switching between girls like Playlist. But ever since the party, something strange had been happening. He couldn't stop thinking about Amara. That night, her calm face kept floating in his mind. Her eyes quiet but confident. The way she'd brushed him off like he was invisible, nobody had ever done that to him before. Why I even day think about this girl's self? He muttered one night, lying on his bed. She no even like me. Still, he found himself scrolling through social media trying to find her handle. He didn't. So he moved on, or tried to. The rainy afternoon. 2 weeks later, Lagos skies grew dark by noon. The clouds gathered like angry spirits, and before long the rain began, heavy, wild, unforgiving. School closed early that day. Tund, always the show-off, refused to wait for the rain to stop. "Guy, you sure say you go ride the Eurocata for this kind rain?" Bayo asked, adjusting his umbrella. "A beg I no fit wait. I get appointment for Acadia," Tund said, climbing on his motorcycle. He laughed as the rain soaked his shirt, splashing through puddles like a rebel. Music blasted from his AirPods as he rode through the slippery streets. But fate was watching. Just as he approached a junction near Ojulegba, a bus sped through a red light. Before he could react, screech, crash. The world went dark. The hospital. When Tund woke up, everything hurt. His right leg was wrapped in bandages, his arm in a sling. The ceiling fan above him turned lazily. The smell of disinfectant filled the air. He tried to sit up but groaned in pain. "Easy," a soft voice said beside him. He turned and froze. It was Amara. She was wearing a simple white nurse uniform, her hair tied neatly. Her eyes met his, calm and kind, but this time without the coldness of the party night. "You're awake," she said gently. "You've been unconscious for 2 days. You work here?" Tund asked weakly. "I'm just a volunteer intern. I come after school sometimes." "Wow," he muttered, trying to smile. "So, you're my nurse now?" She rolled her eyes, adjusting the drip line. "I'm your helper, not your nurse. You should rest." For the first time in a long while, Tund didn't have a comeback. He just watched her move, graceful, calm, self-assured. Every day after that, she came by his bed to check on him. At first she barely talked. But as days passed, Tund began telling jokes, and slowly she started laughing. And that laughter, it did something to him. Healing days. Weeks passed. Tund's legs slowly healed, but his heart was learning a new language, one called gratitude. Amara helped him walk again, encouraged him, scolded him when he complained. She even brought him food from home sometimes, jollof rice, fried plantain, or yam porridge her mother made. One afternoon as she fed him, he said quietly, "You know, you're different from every girl I've met." She smiled faintly. "Different how?" "You don't pretend. You don't chase attention. You just care." "That's because life isn't about impressing people," she said. "It's about being real." Her words hit him deep. When he was discharged 2 weeks later, he walked out of the hospital on crutches, but with a heart that felt brand new. The change. Back in school, Tund was no longer the same boy. He stopped flirting. He stopped skipping classes. He became quieter, more focused. "Guy, you day sick?" Segan joked one day. "You know, even toast babe again." Tund smiled. "No be everything way sweet day good. I just day reason life small." "Nah Mara cause MABI?" Bayo teased. He didn't deny it. Every evening after school, Tund and Amara would walk home together. They talked about music, dreams, and the future. Sometimes they sat under the mango tree and watched the sun melt into the Lagos skyline. "You know, Tund," Amara said one evening, "I didn't like you before." "I know," he laughed. "You made it very clear. But now, I see someone better. You've changed." "That's because of you," he said softly. "You made me want to." She blushed, looking away. He reached for her hand, and for the first time in his life, Tund felt love that wasn't about ego or show-off or pride. Just love, pure and real. A quiet beginning. By the end of the term they were inseparable. People gossiped, of course, how the school's biggest flirt had fallen for the quietest girl. But they didn't care. Their story was soft and sincere, a new chapter written by fate itself. And though Tund had no idea what destiny still had in store, he was sure of one thing. For the first time he'd found someone worth changing for. Months passed and Marigold High began to whisper new tales, not of the playboy but of the couple that had become the school's heartbeat. Tund and Amara. Everyone talked about how love had changed him, How the same boy who once broke hearts now carried one girl's books after class, waited for her under the mango tree and smiled at no one else but her. Guy you donde love oh, Bayo teased one afternoon at the football field. No be small thing, Segan added, laughing. Who go believe say our star boy go turn gentle like this? Tund only grinned. You know go understand until you meet someone way fit calm your spirit. Dreams in motion. Their final year approached fast. Amara was aiming for nursing school. Tund dreamed of studying computer science at the University of Lagos. He'd stopped hanging out late, stopped spending money on parties. Instead, he got a part-time job at a phone repair shop near Ojota. The pay was small, but it made him proud. For the first time he was earning something for himself. Every evening, after closing, he'd walk down to the little food canteen where Amara usually waited. How was work today? She'd ask, wiping her hands on a napkin. Stressful, he'd say. One customer nearly slapped me because I tell him say the screen way by na fake. Amara would laugh. Now you know what we nurses go through. Patients with attitude everywhere. Not why I say we go make perfect couple, Tund replied, grinning. We go heal both hearts and phones. They laughed until the canteen woman, Mama Eben, shooed them away for talking too loud. Those were their golden days, days of late-night walks, shared food, whispered plans. Tund had stopped being a player, but Lagos had not stopped playing its games. Enter Femi Richards. It began the day Amara's mother fell ill. Hospital bills piled up and their savings couldn't cover it. Amara worked after school, took shifts at the clinic and even borrowed small loans, but it wasn't enough. Then came Femi Richards. He was a final-year student at a nearby private university, rich, flashy, confident. He often came to the clinic where Amara volunteered, donating medical supplies for community support. The first day he saw her, he smiled like a man who always got what he wanted. You're Amara, right? He asked, handing her a clipboard. I've heard about you, the girl with the soft hands and sharp mind. She blushed slightly. Thank you, sir. You donate here often. Yes, he said, eyes never leaving her face. Helping people makes me happy. Especially people like you. It started innocently. He offered to pay for her mother's medication, saying, think of it as kindness, not charity. Amara hesitated at first but later accepted. It was hard to refuse when her mother's health depended on it. Tund's doubt. When Tund heard about Femi, he smiled politely at first. So, that's the guy who helped your mum? Nice one. He's just kind, Amara said. He doesn't expect anything in return. Tund nodded. Na Lagos we day, Amara. Nobody just helps, without reason. I know trust fine boys with too much money. She frowned. You're just jealous. Maybe I am, he admitted softly. But only because I don't want to lose you. Amara looked at him, touched his cheek and whispered, you won't. But even as she said it, her heart was unsure. The gifts. Soon, Femi began sending small gifts, perfumes, new shoes, a smartphone. Amara tried to refuse but he always found a way. You're working so hard, he'd say. Let someone spoil you a little. Her friends noticed. Girl, that guy is serious oh, one of them said. If Nami, I know go think twice. But I have Tund, Amara said softly. A beg love no pay bills. See as Femi day treat you like queen. Those words haunted her. And slowly she began to drift. She started coming late to meet Tund, sometimes canceling entirely. When they did meet, her phone buzzed constantly, and her laughter didn't sound the same anymore. Amara, Tund said one evening, you've been distant. What'd happen? Nothing, she said quickly. You're just overthinking. Then who day call you every night? A friend, she replied, walking away. And for the first time since the hospital, silence sat between them, heavy and cold. The breaking point. It came one Sunday afternoon. Tund had planned a surprise, a small outing to the beach, just the two of them. He saved for weeks, imagining the laughter, the waves, the peace. But Amara never showed up. He waited from noon till sunset, calling and texting. No reply. When he finally opened social media that night, his heart shattered. There she was, Amara, smiling in a red dress beside Femi at a charity dinner in Victoria Island. Her caption read, grateful to those who lift us when life gets hard. Red heart. Tund stared at the picture until his vision blurred. His chest ached. The pain felt like a knife. So this is how love pays back, he whispered. A dying spark. 4 days he didn't go to school. Didn't go to work. He stayed home, staring at the ceiling, wondering how something so pure could turn so bitter. Bayo tried to cheer him up. Guy, forget that, babe. Plenty girls day. She wasn't like others, Tun said quietly. She made me believe I could be better. Now she's gone. That night, as rain fell again over Lagos, he lay awake, tears in his eyes. He remembered her laughter, her touch, her words, "You won't lose me." And that was when he knew he already had. Lagos was glowing that Saturday evening, golden light bouncing off the roofs, cars honking, people rushing through the city's heartbeat. But for Tun, the world had turned gray. It had been 2 weeks since the charity dinner photo. 2 weeks since Amara stopped replying to his messages. 2 weeks since hope began to die in his chest. Still he couldn't let go. Something in him, that stubborn belief in her goodness, refused to die. Maybe she's just going through something, he told Bayo. Guy, Bayo sighed, wake up. That girl don't move on. You know, see how she and that rich boy day waka for Instagram. Social media no be real life, Tund insisted. I know Amara. She go come back. But deep down his voice was shaking. The unexpected call. On a quiet Wednesday evening while repairing a phone at the shop, his phone buzzed. It was Amara. For a moment he just stared at the screen. His heart raced. Then he answered. Hello. His voice was barely steady. Tund, she said softly. We need to talk. Where? The park near St. James Church. 6 o'clock. He left work early that day. He didn't even care that he hadn't eaten. At exactly 6 he was already there, sitting on the bench where they'd once shared ice cream and laughter. The meeting. She arrived wearing a simple pink gown, her hair tied back. For a moment, it felt like old times, until he saw the gold bracelet on her wrist, the kind Femi always wore too. You look different, he said quietly. A lot has changed, she replied. There was silence. The wind carried the faint sound of traffic and children playing. Why did you stop talking to me? Tund finally asked. She looked away. Tund, you've been good to me. You changed for me and I'll never forget that. But life is hard. My mom's treatment, school bills. Femi helped when nobody else could. So that's it. Tund's voice cracked. Because he has money? It's not just that. She hesitated. He gives me stability, things you can't give right now. Tund stood up, hurt burning in his chest. So, love no matter again? All those nights we talk about future, not joke? Please don't make this harder, she whispered. You deserve someone better. He shook his head slowly. There's nobody better than you. She reached out to touch his hand but he stepped back. Goodbye, Tund, she said, eyes glistening. I hope you find peace. And then she walked away, leaving him standing there, heart bleeding as the sun went down behind her. The hollow days. After that evening, Tund stopped being himself. He stopped working. Stopped talking to friends. His laughter disappeared. Sometimes he'd walk past the clinic hoping to catch a glimpse of her. Once he saw her getting into Femi's black Lexus, smiling. That smile tore him apart. So it's really over, he murmured. After everything? He started drinking. Nights turned long and empty. The same boy who once lit up every room now sat in darkness, replaying memories like punishment. The invitation. Then came the day everything shattered for good. One morning, Segan rushed into the shop with his phone raised. Tund? Guy, you know go believe. Amara Day marry Femi. What? Tund's voice trembled. See flyer here, big wedding for Lecky this weekend. Na real dealo. Tund took the phone, staring at the post. There it was, Amara's picture, smiling in white, beside Femi. Save the date, Mr. and Mrs. Richards. His hand shook. His breath came short. The world blurred around him. She no even tell me, he whispered. Bayo touched his shoulder gently. Guy, I beg no do anything stupid. No, Tund said quietly, eyes hardening. I just need to see her one last time. The wedding day. The church in Lecky was decorated like heaven. White roses, gold ribbons and laughter everywhere. Cars lined the road and music filled the air. Amara stood in her wedding gown, glowing, surrounded by bridesmaids. But beneath the makeup, her eyes held a shadow, the kind of doubt that hides beneath forced smiles. As the ceremony began, Tund arrived. He wasn't dressed for a wedding, just a black shirt, jeans and eyes that carried too much pain. He slipped quietly into the back of the church. His heart pounded as he watched her walk down the aisle. Every step she took felt like a knife. The priest began his speech. Tund's vision blurred again. Memories of their love flashed before him. Her laughter, her promises, the accident, her care. And then came the words that broke him. Do you, Amara Okafor, take this man, Femi Richards, as your lawfully wedded husband? There was silence. Amara hesitated, For a moment, her eyes flicked to the crowd. She saw Tund. Their eyes met. His face was pale, his hands trembling. But before he could speak, she turned away and whispered, "I do." The crowd erupted in cheers. Tund's heart stopped. He stood there, frozen, as she was declared Mrs. Femi Richards. Then he turned and walked out, rain starting to fall, soft, mocking drops that felt like tears from the sky. The breaking point. That night, Tund sat alone in his room, surrounded by bottles, shaking. He laughed bitterly, tears streaming down his face. "So this is love," he muttered. "This is what I changed for." He stared at his reflection, empty eyes, broken soul. Then something inside him snapped. "She took everything, my heart, my peace, my life." And in that moment, pain turned to rage. Lagos night was alive, horns blaring, generators humming, bars echoing with laughter. But inside Tund's small room in Ojota, silence ruled. He sat by the window, staring out at the city lights, clutching a half-empty bottle of gin. On the table lay an old photograph of him and Amara, taken during their happiest days at the canteen. She was laughing, holding a bottle of malt, while he stared at her like she was the only person in the world. Now the picture looked like a cruel joke. He picked it up, his hand shaking, and whispered, "You said I wouldn't lose you, you lied." He threw the photo across the room. The glass cracked, shattering like his heart. The spiral. 4 days, Tund disappeared from his friends. He stopped going to work. Stopped eating. Bayo tried to visit, but he wouldn't open the door. Sometimes neighbors heard him talking to himself, arguing with ghosts, with memories. "You made me better," he muttered one night. "Then you left me worse." He began keeping a small notebook, writing angry letters he never sent. Each page was a scream, a wound, a confession. One night, as he scrolled through social media, he saw a new post, Amara and Femi on honeymoon in Dubai. Her caption read, "Finally, happiness found me." Red heart. That broke him completely. He slammed the phone on the floor, tears streaming down his face. Then he whispered, "If I can't have peace, neither will she." The plan. The thought grew in his mind like poison. Day after day, it whispered to him, feeding on his pain. He stopped crying. Stopped feeling. Instead, he began planning. He found out from Segan that Amara and Femi were returning to Lagos soon for a small Thanksgiving event. Their location, a private party in Victoria Island. Tund cleaned up that morning, shaved, and wore a plain black shirt. In his pocket, he hid a small pistol, one he'd bought long ago from a shady friend back in his reckless days. He looked at himself in the mirror. His eyes were cold, but beneath the rage, something human still flickered. A boy who once believed in love. "I just want them to feel what I felt," he whispered. That's all. The night of fire. The mansion in Victoria Island glowed with lights and laughter. Cars lined the street. Guests in fancy clothes moved in and out. Inside, Amara and Femi were at the center of it all, smiling, dancing, pretending life was perfect. Tund stood at the gate, blending into the shadows. The sound of music thumped through his chest like a heartbeat. His hands trembled around the pistol. He walked through the crowd unnoticed. People mistook him for one of the waiters. Then, as the couple stepped onto the dance floor for their first dance, everything slowed. Her face. That same face that once smiled only for him. He froze. For a moment, his anger wavered. "Don't do it," a small voice inside whispered. "It's not worth it." But then Femi leaned close and kissed her, and something snapped. 2 gunshots tore through the hall. Screams filled the air. People ducked, glasses shattered, music stopped. Amara collapsed first, clutching her chest, eyes wide in shock. Femi fell beside her. Tund dropped the gun, his body shaking. He stared at them, the blood, the chaos, the silence. "Why did it come to this?" he whispered. "Why?" Security rushed in. He didn't run. He didn't resist. He just knelt down, hands raised, tears pouring freely. "I loved her," he sobbed. "I swear I loved her." Behind bars. The prison cell was cold, damp, and quiet. Days turned into weeks. The noise of chains replaced the sound of music. Every night, he replayed everything, from the first time he met Amara at that party to the accident, to her care, her smile, her betrayal. Sometimes he dreamed of her still alive, smiling, forgiving him. Then he'd wake up and realize it was just guilt playing tricks. One afternoon, Bayo came to visit. His face was pale, his eyes tired. "Tund," he said softly, "they'll sentence you soon." Tund nodded. "I know." "Why, bro? You could have walked away." "I wish I did," Tund whispered. "I thought I was ending pain, but I only created more." He leaned against the wall, voice trembling. I became the monster I swore I'd never be. The sentence. 2 months later, in a quiet courtroom, the judge read his verdict. Tund Babalola, for the crime of double homicide, you are hereby sentenced to death by hanging. The courtroom murmured. Tund didn't flinch. He simply bowed his head. He'd already died the day Amara said I do. The regret. That night, back in his cell, he whispered to himself. If only I had listened. If only I had let her go in peace. He looked out through the small window where a sliver of moonlight touched the wall. And for the first time in months he prayed, not for life but for forgiveness. Maybe in another life, he said softly, we'll love better, and lose less. He closed his eyes as tears rolled down his cheeks. Outside, the rain began to fall again, soft, heavy, and endless. If you enjoy the story, please like, subscribe, and share for more stories. Thanks for watching.